Hi, I'm Niall Hunt. I'm the Digital Content Lead with TV Connect, and I'm here with Claire McHugh, CEO of Axonista. Hi Claire, thanks for joining us.
You're very welcome.
So you were just on a panel about personalisation.
That's right.
So we hear a lot about the kind of growth of OTT, this ability to serve kind of any niche and any genre. How far can it go, and how far should we push it?
Really, the only limit is the imagination. The real question is, what can you actually deliver of value to the audience, and who is the audience? What device are they watching on? They're the key things to consider if you're a TV network or content provider. But there's so many different things, and the tools and technologies are actually in place now that we can achieve these things. But it really is, as with anything, it's kind of what is the content, what is the audience, how do you shape that narrative for them to deliver something that's actually valuable? Why should you be personalising something in the first place? That's the real key thing.
So I suppose devices are important. You've got everything from the kind of fireside viewing as a big screen TV down to the mobile. How does that change your approach to personalisation, and how would you approach that?
Well, they're very different audiences. If you're looking at a mobile phone, it's probably just going to be you. You may be time poor, you could be commuting from A to B and you have a certain amount of time to do something. So that is a high level of interactivity, and it's probably a high level of personalisation. You go out to the shared living room experience, there's probably 2 or 3 people there watching at the same time. You're going to watch something different with your family than you are if you're on your own. So that's a different level. So you have to kind of think what unifies that audience that you can serve to them that's of value.
And then I suppose, with from an operator point of view or a broadcaster point of view, how do you then cope with that? What's the strategy that you should take behind that?
You have to think about 2 things. One's the audience, second is the content and the narrative of that content. Are you putting somebody at the heart of something that's a choose your own adventure style thing where they get to actually control and decide the experience and how it unfolds? Or are you simply making recommendations to them based on what you think you know about them? Or are you allowing them to drive that in some way and inform those decisions?
And I suppose with that, you've not only got their previous program choice, but you've also got other information that your operator or pay TV operator might be gathering that. And I suppose we all live in a kind of data-sensitive world, shall we say? How much of that?
What's increasingly so, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I guess there's a balancing act there.
Absolutely. I mean, I gave an example on the panel. It was like, one of the things. For me, when I was a kid, I had this personalised book that my mum gave me for Christmas, and it had like myself and my brother as the main characters in it. That was like, our names were printed. This was amazing. This is a really magical experience, and that was the best present. Like, I really even remember it now. Whereas, if I have somebody who's serving me ads based on like yoga for people fit and 40, I'm kind of likely to look at that and go, that's more of an insult than something wonderful. Yeah. So you have to create something that actually delivers real value, and that's the key thing to deliver it.
And I suppose I guess a third kind of point around that is, what about new content? What about blockbusters or things you want to promote to your audience? How do you work that into the kind of equation of personalisation?
When you say new content?
Well, I mean, let's take a new series that has your Skies or your Netflix has come up with. How do you then put that into a personalised world? If everything that I'm serving you up is personalised just to you, you might not be interested in a new thing, but the people who have invested the money in that might want that put in front of you. How do you balance that up commercially?
Well, if somebody shoves a lot of stuff, attaches the interactivity and personalisation to a piece of content I'm not interested in, I'm not going to engage with that. So you really have to let the consumer guide those experiences and provide something that's a good experience. But if you're talking about drama or something like that, like HBO and Steven Soderbergh recently released something called Mosaic, which was exactly that choose your own adventure style of programming. You could learn about this character, then go to this scene, then go to another scene. Incredibly complex and difficult to do and expensive, but a really different experience for the viewer. So you can do it for some shows, but it has to be at the heart of it, and it has to be really well thought out in advance and not just bolted on to the show.
So, and then of course you've got, let's call them smart ad platforms. They're appearing all over the place, and very big broadcasters involved in that. I suppose, is personalisation more about the consumer and their content, or is it more about advertising? Because at the moment we see a lot of the advances seem to be in the kind of ad play and the kind of monetization of that. And I suppose which also asks the question, the more niche you go, how do you then monetize those niches?
That's interesting. So there's 2 parts to that question. The first one is really, if you're looking at monetization. Everyone's going to be interested in advertising. You know, how do we get people to watch more ads? How do we get them to watch more relative ads? But really, the question is, how do we get them to buy more stuff?
Yeah.
So if you look at that question, the nicher you go, the more people are really, you know, enamored with the content, and the more likely they are to buy stuff that is about that content. So that's you getting into the realms of video commerce there.
Yeah.
That's really becoming a reality. We're seeing a lot of popularity with that at the moment. But you know, if you look at advertising, it needs to be really clever. It needs to be more than the labels that people put on you as a demographic. You know, it needs to be, what are my habits? What kind of mood am I in? What part of my day am I in? You know, if I was watching a small program with one of those smart ad platforms in it on my way here, something could tell me where I could get the best cup of coffee besides the Olympia. That would be really handy, you know. It kind of depends, and I think the use case for that, you know, the outcome has to really stack up with what you're being asked to deliver in terms of your own personal data. You know, it needs to be, again, it's come down to the same point. It needs to be of value.
Yeah. Okay. And how are you enjoying your TV Connect experience so far?
I keep bumping into people left, right, and centre that I know. Always a good sign of a good conference, you know. And I actually haven't had the opportunity to walk around all these stands yet, but I'm looking forward to doing that later on. But it is, I mean, I'm having great conversations with lots of people. You know, it's a good place to meet people. So the name is good. I'm definitely connecting.
Good stuff. Thank you, Claire, for your time.
You're very, very welcome, man. Thanks.